What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to continue on the same topic as my last episode. We're going to talk about the therapeutic alliance, how to build the therapeutic alliance. Because as I've said before, and I'm going to repeat it now again, the therapeutic alliance is the strongest predictor of positive therapeutic outcomes. And so it's worth spending some time on how do we build a strong therapeutic alliance with our clients. In my last episode, I talked a bit about curiosity being a core component of the therapeutic alliance. And in today's episode, I thought it would be helpful to take a look at what sorts of variables external to the therapy session itself contribute to building a strong therapeutic alliance with our clients. I know at least sometimes I've been prone to believe that building a strong therapeutic alliance exists sort of almost solely within the session itself, like the things we're doing together live with our clients. And though most certainly there are all kinds of skills that we can implement in session, that apply in session to build a strong therapeutic alliance, the article that we looked at last week also made clear that so much of building a strong therapeutic alliance has to do with ourselves, our own experience, and I would argue like an array of other factors like that exist outside of the session itself. So if you're having difficulties building a strong therapeutic alliance, or just, for our own continued like edification and just to be reminded, I thought we could talk about some of the variables that exist outside of the session that could help contribute to strengthening our therapeutic alliance with our clients. So I mentioned this phrase therapeutic alliance a bunch, and it's one of those things that we talk about, but then it's helpful to define what the therapeutic alliance is. This article published in Focus, the Journal of Lifelong Learning in Psychiatry, titled "The Therapeutic Alliance, the Fundamental Element of Psychotherapy," has a definition for us. Quote, "There is consistent evidence that the quality of the therapeutic alliance is linked to the success of psychotherapeutic treatment across a broad spectrum of types of patients, treatment modalities used, presenting problems, contexts, and measurements. Although scholars may differ in how the alliance is conceptualized, most theoretical definitions of the alliance have three themes in common: the collaborative nature of the relationship, the effective bond between patient and therapist, and the patient's and therapist's ability to agree on treatment goals and tasks. The therapeutic alliance is posited to be a measure of the therapist and client's mutual engagement in the work of therapy, thus representing an important component for achieving treatment success, regardless of the specific treatment modality employed. The statistical relationship between alliance and outcome is modest, approximately 7% of the variance, and an average effect size of 0.26. However, this link has proven to be robust across multiple meta-analyses. Is anyone else a little surprised when you hear that the variance is actually only 7% when it comes to therapeutic alliance? So makes me wonder what other variables are at play that contribute to therapeutic outcomes, since the therapeutic alliance is like the strongest variable and it's only 7%. But anyway, I guess the takeaway from that is you could have a really strong therapeutic alliance with somebody and their experience, their symptoms don't improve. And that certainly is very common. So it's not like we establish a strong therapeutic alliance and magically our clients just get better or, whatever their concerns are, magically improve. This therapeutic alliance is more about fostering safety with our clients, building a sense of openness and this kind of sense of mutual teamwork so that there's a lot of buy-in from our clients to put in the work as we work on like mutually understood goals. To emphasize this point, here's a quote from a Stat Pearls article titled "Psychotherapy and Therapeutic Relationship." Quote, "A strong therapeutic alliance, whether established by therapists, doctors, nurses, or other healthcare providers, is crucial for facilitating behavioral changes, fostering trust, and promoting adherence to informed treatment plans. Healthcare providers who use active listening, empathy, and validation help patients feel understood and valued, enhancing their therapeutic engagement. This engagement empowers patients to set realistic goals, make informed decisions, and actively participate in their care." So I think there's something really key there. The therapeutic alliance doesn't make someone feel better. It's just a key component of getting full buy-in from our clients so that we can work on the goals that they want to work on and set realistic goals as well. I love that they said that. And even in that quote, they mention active listening, empathy, and validation all help our clients feel understood and valued and build that therapeutic alliance. Yes, we know that. I know I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before, but like, how do we work on ourselves to help make it more possible to build a strong therapeutic alliance with our clients? Because that's something that popped up in the article that we talked about in the last episode that I found really intriguing and kind of left me chewing on it a little bit of like, yeah, there's so much that happens outside of the therapy session itself that makes it more or less accessible for me to feel like I can build that rapport, that strong sense of connection, alliance, etc. But even though the article we talked about in the last episode I made said that there's all these external variables related to ourselves as therapists and our own self-awareness, our own work that contribute to our ability to build a strong therapeutic alliance, when I look for more information, like research back information on how to build a strong therapeutic alliance, almost everything is skills focused on like how to implement that in session. So I decided to kind of reflect on this and build a list that's totally purely on my kind of reflections. The article last week did talk about how fostering curiosity in our relationships can help build curiosity with our clients, which is a core component of building a strong therapeutic alliance. And also just our own meditative practice, like holding space for nuance and all of that, can also contribute to building that strong rapport with our clients. But like, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that can contribute. Like you could have those two boxes checked and still find it really difficult to build a strong therapeutic alliance. So I just kind of reflected on it and put it together in a list. This isn't an official list. This isn't based on science, but apparently it's not a super research thing, which is wild to me because it's such a core component of our work. Like, I feel like there's all these research dollars on, testing out different therapeutic strategies, but like maybe we should pour some of those dollars into like how to build a strong therapeutic alliance because that's such a core component to the therapeutic outcomes. Okay, I trail off. Let's get into my list. And as I go through the list, feel free to consider like what other variables in your life might contribute or detract from your ability to build a sense of genuine connection with your clients. Also, it feels like an important disclaimer to say that like, even as I made this list, like a bunch of the things on the list are off kilter for me too. So I don't think the goal is to like align quote unquote perfectly with all of the things on this list to like have the best therapeutic alliance with all of your clients. But I think this is a helpful list to run through if you're finding it difficult to build a strong rapport or if it's just something you want to work on. These are in no particular order, but definitely the first thing that came to mind was workplace environment. Like if you're working in a space that feels really safe, then it's going to be a lot more accessible for you to extend that safety to your clients and build a rapport. Safety could embody any number of things. It could be like if you work as an employee in a really toxic workplace, that is not safe and it's going to make it more challenging to extend safety to your clients. But this could also do with like your actual physical space. Like if your space itself isn't feeling safe, then that's going to make it more difficult to extend safety to your clients, whether it's an in-person space or a virtual space. For example, I remember there was one workplace in particular where it was just the location of the therapy practice being super central and let's just say like a really busy part of downtown area that also had absolutely no security measures. Like the front door was unlocked. There's no receptionist. There's no locked door between my therapy office and, the street. And so people would just walk in and like, listen, there's words I could say that then YouTube flags it. Like, let's say I'd like find things in the bathroom later where clearly somebody was doing something illicit in the bathroom, the client bathroom, or just somebody walking in and yelling. And I would have to lock myself in the room with my client. We're supposed to be doing therapy, but I'm wondering if I need to call 911, right? Like that definitely affects your capacity to build a strong therapeutic alliance. I don't know, maybe you'd say like we were aligned in our crisis anyway. Or, if your virtual space doesn't feel safe to you for whatever reasons. It may not be like actually unsafe, but if it's like, I don't know, there's interruptions or, whatever it might be, you're meeting in the floor of a bathroom, that could impact things too. Another variable is just current personal stressors. As the therapist, if you're going through personal stressors of any sort, that might influence your ability to extend that rapport building, that therapeutic alliance, that genuine, like, I really care about your situation. I mean, I think this is just human nature, right? If you're going through something really awful in your life and you have a client coming in complaining deeply about something that to your perception feels like a much smaller situation than the one that you're going through, of course, it could be much more difficult to extend empathy to your clients in that situation. Or it might be just that your mind is having trouble settling because maybe you're in survival mode, maybe you're in crisis mode, and you're trying to find that calm energy, that Zen space to just be there with your client. But your system might be really activated from whatever's going on. That's going to make it a lot more difficult to build that rapport as well. Another variable that seems to be coming up, dare I say, more often lately, based on not real data, but just things I hear from folks around, is our confidence in the field itself, in the profession. Whether it's how confident we are in like our therapeutic process being actually effective or helpful or beneficial to clients, or how confident we are in the direction that the profession is going in general, whether you're having concerns about how things are turning into capitalist thing. I'm sighing and trailing off because that could be its own episode. But yes, I have heard from many therapists who have this feeling of like, I used to really be bought into this field and believe in this work, but now the direction that the field is going, maybe it's not for me anymore, at least wondering about that. And if you're having those wonderings, but you're still seeing your therapy clients, yeah, that could very easily make it difficult to feel bought in to like, I'm helping this client right now and this is worthwhile and this profession makes sense. That could really influence things. A big one too is our own self-confidence. We don't want to go too far into like, I'm so confident that I can just like fix everybody, because that's going to also mess up the therapeutic alliance. But if you are experiencing like debilitating levels of self-doubt, like, am I really capable of helping people? Or maybe just, am I really capable of helping this person? Is what I'm doing useful? Was that the right call that I made? And if that kind of self-doubt starts to take over and kind of drive your professional car for you, rather than just sort of live in the peanut gallery and offer some, background feedback that you can consider, but you can always kind of step away from, then that might drastically influence the therapeutic alliance. Like, I think our clients can pick up on our self-doubt. And that was something I was bringing up in the last episode on this topic was, some clients might be perceptive and secure and grounded and consciously notice your self-doubt. And so, yeah, that's going to affect their buy-in. Like, my therapist doesn't really seem to think that they can help me. But other clients, and I would argue, I mean, both are problematic, but potentially worse is some clients might perceive that you're experiencing self-doubt, but not on a totally conscious level, or maybe not in a grounded way, and interpret your sense of like, I'm not sure if I'm helping this client as like an internalized judgment of like, I'm not capable of being helped. Like, look how unconfident my therapist looks. Like, there must be something about me that's making them feel this way. And if you're kind of, as a therapist, caught up in your own self-doubt, I mean, you could miss that. It could have the capacity to kind of go unattended to when it's really nice to see a therapist that feels like, I'm confident in what I'm capable of. I can't have the magic wand and fix everything, obviously, but I can be useful in a very specific way, and I'm going to do that with you. That's helpful. And kind of in a similar vein, but also deserving of its own mention, is self-compassion. Like, if we are able to access a sense of you know, I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best, or I'm doing a good job considering everything that's going on, just like in life, not just as a therapist, but I'm talking about like as a human. Like if we can extend self-compassion to ourselves to say, hey, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing good enough for now. It could be worse. I'm pretty proud of myself that, I made it work in the pinch, or even, I messed up. And yeah, I can see the circumstances that led me to get to that point, and I can do some things to work on that or do better. Self-compassion. If we can have that for ourselves, it's much easier to extend that to our clients. If we don't have self-compassion for ourselves, like we can intellectually extend self-compassion to our clients, but we're also potentially going to project some of the judgments that we have on ourselves and put them on our clients, or the expectations that we have on ourselves if they are unreasonable or if they are rooted in shame. Then at some point there might be some subtext where we inadvertently extend that to our clients, even if that's not what we're intending, or that's not how we think we perceive our clients. It could trickle out. And so practicing self-compassion is a really great way, I think, to be a better therapist, because it's a lot easier to extend it to our clients then. I could trail off even longer on the self-compassion piece. That also feels a little bit like curiosity. Like it's so core, I think, to our work. Like if we have compassion for ourselves, generally speaking, we all have moments where we don't. Okay, that's just we're humans. But if we have a general kind of frame of holding compassion for ourselves, even if we never make any mention of compassion, if we never make any mention of how we hold compassion of ourselves or any stories about ourselves, I think it comes through. I think our clients can tell, like, this person seems pretty secure enough that they're able to extend self-compassion on themselves. And then that can kind of give our clients a vote of confidence that, like, hey, if this person is able to extend compassion to themselves, maybe they can help me learn how to extend compassion to myself. Because I think so much of the work that we do is helping our clients be more compassionate towards themselves, towards others. Just, compassion is it's a hard skill to learn, and it's really valuable if we can exercise it with ourselves and the people around us. It makes our lives much better. So I'm not saying it fixes everything. I'm just saying it's not small. That's my trail off for the extended cut folks listening. Thank you for joining me. But before we continue with the list, I'd like to thank Powbox for sponsoring this episode. It wasn't until a couple years ago that I first learned that even with a signed BAA, Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 can't guarantee that 100% of the messages going in and out are HIPAA secure. So without a tool like Powbox operating on the back end, it's almost impossible to stay HIPAA secure unless you forego email altogether. Even if you exclusively use a secure portal to discuss protected health information with your clients, there's still going to be potential clients reaching out initially, and also some clients who will still try to email you because, I don't know, they forgot their password for their portal and they're trying to reach out. So with a tool like Powbox, you can guarantee that every single message is protected. Powbox is super easy to set up, and it's kind of a one and done situation. Like you just spend a few minutes initially setting it up, and then it's just continuously quietly running in the background. Powbox offers a 14-day free trial to everybody, and they're offering a special discount to Private Practice Skills listeners. Just use coupon code SKILLS at checkout in order to receive $250 off your first year of Powbox. That's Powbox spelled Paubox. Thank you again to Powbox for sponsoring this episode, and now back to some other variables at play that can influence our ability to build a strong rapport with our clients. Another item I put on this list is our general capacity for sitting with, which I know is like such a therapist-y phrase, or the more jargony way of putting it, I would say, is emotion regulation and distress tolerance. If we're not able to sit with our own emotional experiences, the ones happening within our own bodies, our own selves, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that with our clients. This feels kind of important because I think I hear a lot of therapists express a value of kind of being in a constantly regulated state, and that being the value of like, don't escalate, or, don't get too anxious, or don't get too, sad, or whatever the emotions might be we need to sort of just stay even keel with our clients, I think that's sort of like a little bit of a misplaced expectation, because we are looking to build a genuine connection with our therapy clients, and a genuine connection involves having emotions and experiencing them. So to me, rather than saying like the goal is to be regulated at all times, I mean, obviously, if you're getting completely dysregulated, yes, that's something that needs tending to, but we should expect that we're going to go on an emotional ride with our clients. And so the goal is less to just sort of stay even keel at all times, and more to be able to sit with whatever roller coaster ride our emotions take us on in general, so that when we're with our clients and we join them and experience emotions with them, we can sit with them and hold all of those emotions in our own bodies, and that can help our clients hold all of those emotions in their body as well. Or even if they can't, they can at least know that we can handle it when it comes up. Another way to talk about sitting with our emotions is to be able to get to a point of saying like, I'm feeling this way and it's okay. Or I'm feeling this way and I'm going to be okay. The goal isn't to say, I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't feel this way too much. It's, I might be feeling this way. I might be feeling this way a lot, and I'm okay. I'm still here. I'm still doing the work. I'm still with my client. And this is something that we rehearse outside of the therapy session. It's not like next time I'm in therapy with my client, I'm going to practice sitting with the emotions I experience. It's in my daily life, in the land where we're roaming free in the wild, experiencing whatever emotional content is coming up. That's where we rehearse sitting with our emotions and knowing that we're going to be okay, regardless of the emotional ride that we're going on, so that when we're sitting in session with our clients, we have that skill already rehearsed and we bring it with us, and we're just practicing it again with our clients. The next variable I thought of is what we talked about last week: fostering exploration and curiosity. To me, a big part of genuinely connecting with a person is exploring together, discovering together. We are doing that with our clients in session. We are exploring who they are and getting to know them curiously. So it's really valuable to be quite practiced in doing that in our day-to-day lives. The article last week talked about mindfulness practices. It talked about how curiosity is contagious. So if a professor or a supervisor or colleague is curious towards us, then it's contagious, and we have an easier time extending that to our clients. And I would argue, like, we can practice this in almost everything in life. I won't trail off too far on this since I made a whole episode about it last week. I'll link to that episode below if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts on that. And the last item I put on this list for now is work-life balance. There she is. I know that one's kind of trite and gets thrown around so much, and then it's like, what does that even mean? But if, let's say, seeing 10 therapy clients a week, you have a very easy time accessing genuine care for your clients, it's not unreasonable to say, well, if your employer expects you to see 38 clients a week, that now suddenly you might be having a very difficult time accessing compassion and genuine care for your clients, because now your body is getting put through the ringer, and it doesn't have the capacity to offer genuine care, because it needs to kind of go into emergency mode, survival mode, and self-preservation mode. So I'm not going to break down this work-life balance thing in this episode. I'm sure that could be a whole series of episodes all by itself. But certainly, if things are really out of balance, it's going to be difficult to kind of find our center and feel like we can extend that love and compassion and genuine care for our clients. So that was just kind of an initial list that I came up with. What do you think about that list so far? Just kind of the things outside of the session itself that can influence our ability to build a strong therapeutic alliance. Like, I'm sure there are things to add to the list. So the invitation here is for you to kind of reflect for yourself and see what else might be on that list for you, and how's that part of your life going? One thing I was thinking about as I was coming up with this list is also there's just like our own, I don't know if this is temperament or wiring, or if for me it was growing up in a narcissistic household and neglecting my own experiences. It may be all of the above. But one thing I've reflected on is, for me, when I'm going through a lot in my own life, a lot of emotional content. Uh, I've found it really grounding to be able to extend care and compassion to my clients. And so I think there's something there that I don't fully understand about how, as a human, sitting with another human where my job is to listen compassionately and join them and help them move towards their goals, that also like feeds back into me, like extending compassion to somebody else really helps me give that back to myself. Um, so there is also kind of like this reverse effect where it's like maybe I was doing a really awful job taking care of myself, and then I go through my sessions with my clients and I feel more at ease because I realize the things that I'm not just telling them to do. Usually I'm not telling people to do things, but the things that I'm wanting for my clients or hoping for them, or, when I see them being hard on themselves a certain way and I'm thinking like, I don't see them that way at all. It like seeps into how I see myself as well. So there's some kind of like mutual exchange that can happen. And obviously we're not supposed to be in this field for ourselves and all those things. But like, of course, if we're having a genuine human relationship with a person, kind of by definition, we are impacted, of course, by our clients. And so that was just kind of a thought that I am throwing in there as well. And certainly could go the other way as well. Like if I have a client who is, let's say, stepping outside of the therapeutic boundaries and harming me in a certain way. So, for example, it's been a long time since I've been in any of these types of situations, but like a long time ago as a trainee, I had a client that would follow me to my car in the parking lot when it was dark outside in a pretty high crime part of town. Um, that that definitely affected me. um, Gratefully, I was a trainee, so I had, places I could turn. But there's things like that, right? Where our clients step outside the bounds of the therapeutic relationship in a harmful way that also impact us in the other direction. So, um, certainly with that client, for example, that impacted my ability to build a strong rapport. And obviously, I needed to refer that client out. That kind of brings us back to some of the things in session that I very clearly did not talk about at all in this list, because there's so many things that happen in session that influence our ability to build a strong rapport with clients. The goal of this episode is not to get into that because that's its own beast of a topic, but I did see something mentioned in the article we quoted earlier that I thought was worth naming. Quote, studies suggest that patients tend to view the alliance relationship as stable, whereas therapists and observers tend to indicate more change over time in their alliance ratings. Because patients tend to view the alliance consistently throughout treatment, they are more likely to view the alliance as positive at termination if their initial assessment was positive. Thus, therapists must be effective at establishing positive alliances with their patients early in the therapy process. I found that really encouraging. Like, one could see that as a lot of pressure, but something about like starting off on the right foot with our therapy clients or potential therapy clients as they enter in can really shape the entire therapeutic alliance. And this is something I've always sort of at least felt intuitively, maybe, because I've made a bunch of episodes about this. Like I have more than one episode about the initial phone screen and the initial contact and the initial therapy session itself, because those do feel like so much hinges in those moments. And not to say that then if you nail your initial therapy assessment, then you can just cruise and forget about it. But um, there's so much riding on those moments. Those initial impressions really set the tone for your entire work together. Like it's really interesting to me that the idea of like most clients on average feel the same about the strength of the therapeutic alliance on day one of therapy as they do on the last day. So yeah, that feels really valuable. I just appreciated that quote so much. And again, I'm fully aware I skipped over all of the variables present like in the room with our clients that help shift how easy or difficult it is to build a strong therapeutic alliance and like how to go about it. If that's something you're interested in hearing more about, let me know in the comments and maybe it'll pop up in another episode. There's definitely a lot more actual research on that, so that will be fun to point to. And I hope this felt supportive to you. Like if you're having any difficulty building rapport with your clients, that it may not be totally personal. It may not be totally your clients or something about what you're doing in the session. And you're operating within a system of like so many variables at play. And maybe all of those combined are potentially influencing you to make it more difficult to build that rapport. So I think it's just worth kind of like taking an inventory, inviting some self-compassion, like we talked about, and just genuinely, curiously, like we talked about, ask, like, what might be going on here that I'm finding it so difficult right now to like feel like I genuinely care about my clients? Because yeah, we should take care of you and take care of what's going on there for your sake. And of course, also your client's sake, but you should get to be okay too. Whew. Well, I continue dabbling in the land of Maria's just sharing her thoughts about things. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. And I hope this was helpful to you. And I hope that your work is bringing you joy in some capacity as well. Until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.